The cops showed up at my gate with sirens blazing because my HOA president claimed my $50,000 electric fence was a danger to the community. But when she tried to ruin me in front of everyone, she had no idea the cameras were rolling and what they caught would end her reign for good. I still remember the blue lights flashing against my white oak fence, the sound of sirens cutting through the quiet Tennessee morning like a knife through silk. 2 police cars stopped right in front of my $3 million mansion, tires crunching on the gravel. I stood on my porch, coffee mug trembling in my hand. Karen Benson, our HOA president, was already there, pointing at my new electric privacy fence like it was a crime scene. Her pearl necklace shimmered with self-righteous fury. "Officer, that fence violates community standards," she declared, waving a binder thicker than the Bible. "Electric fences are dangerous. We demand removal immediately." I glanced at her smug face, that blend of control and envy. "Karen, it's a security system. Not your business." The younger officer scratched his head. "Sir, we got a call about a possible electrical hazard on private property." I felt heat rise in my chest. "You mean my $50,000 fence, the one I got permission for?" Karen smirked. "Not from me, you didn't." I clenched my jaw, realizing this wasn't about safety, it was about control. "Before we go on, please, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? I want to see how many families, parents, and neighbors are feeling this story across the country tonight. Your comment helps this message reach more people who've faced unfair HOA rules too." The officers looked at me, uncertain. Karen stood proud, thinking she'd won. But inside, I was already planning my next move. That morning, I learned one thing. Some people don't hate your success. They hate that it's visible. And that was just the beginning. 10 years earlier, I'd bought this mansion for peace, not war, a dream escape from Nashville's chaos, a slice of heaven with 10 acres of green silence. My wife, Amelia, loved the open view. My teenage son, Tyler, said it felt like living in a movie. We thought we'd found paradise. The HOA met me on the second week. Karen introduced herself like royalty, extending a manicured hand. "We keep this community orderly, Mr. Hayes." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I nodded politely. "I just want privacy." She chuckled. "Privacy doesn't mean isolation. We value aesthetics." I didn't realize then that meant control. Months passed smoothly until I started adding upgrades. The first security gate? She questioned the color. The pool cabana? She said it disrupted community uniformity. Each time I followed the rules. Each time, she moved the goalpost. Then one night, Tyler came home shaken. Someone had trespassed near the fence. That's when I decided to install the electric privacy wall. A fence not just of steel and current, but of peace. Amelia warned me, "You know she'll explode." I shrugged. "Let her." That decision would soon set the entire neighborhood on fire, figuratively and almost literally. The first current that flowed through that fence didn't just spark electricity, it sparked war. 3 days after the installation, I found a bright orange envelope taped to my front door. Bold letters screamed, "Notice of violation." Karen had struck. Inside, the letter read like a threat disguised as protocol, claims about unauthorized electrical hazards and endangerment of community pets. I laughed bitterly. My fence had safety certifications thicker than her rulebook. That night, Amelia asked, "Should we fight it or remove it?" I looked out the window, at the fence glowing faintly under moonlight. "No, we fight." The next day, I called the HOA board meeting. Only 3 members showed up: Karen, her husband Paul, and a timid neighbor named Susan. Karen began, "You violated Article 9, Section 4. I interrupted. "Actually, it states that any fence exceeding 6 feet requires approval. Mine is 5'9". Check the specs." She blinked, thrown off. Paul cleared his throat. "Still, electric fences aren't mentioned." "Exactly," I said. "Not mentioned means not forbidden." Susan's eyes darted nervously. "He's technically right, Karen." The room went cold. Karen's lips tightened. She leaned forward. "You think you're clever, don't you? I smiled. No. Just informed. That night, my security cameras caught Karen pacing outside my property. And something in me whispered, she's not done yet. 2 weeks later, I woke to Amelia shaking me. Lucas, the lights. The entire mansion was dark. My security system offline. Fence power, phew. I grabbed a flashlight, my pulse racing. Outside, a figure darted behind the neighbor's hedge. I rushed out, barefoot, shouting. Hey, who's there? Silence. Only the sound of crickets and distant thunder. The next morning, the electric technician inspected the line. Sir, this wasn't random. Someone cut the external fuse. I froze. You mean sabotage? He nodded grimly. Clean cut. Precise. Amelia gasped. You think it's her? I didn't answer. But deep down I knew. Karen's smug smile haunted my thoughts. Later that afternoon, I saw her watering her roses, humming softly, eyes glancing toward my property. I yelled across the fence, enjoy your power games? She looked up, feigning innocence. Oh, Lucas. Maybe your fancy fence couldn't handle Tennessee storms. That was the moment I realized, she wasn't just controlling. She was dangerous. So I installed hidden cameras. 3 days later, one captured her husband near the fuse box, at 2 a.m. The war was no longer silent. When I showed the footage to the sheriff, he frowned. That's clear trespassing. But since it's HOA property near the boundary, it's a gray area. I slammed my hand on the desk. So she can keep sabotaging me? He sighed. Document everything. We'll need more. Days later, Karen doubled down. She filed a community hazard complaint, claiming my fence buzzed too loudly and scared children. That Friday, 2 officers knocked again. Same ones. The younger cop whispered, We're back here again? Karen emerged from her yard, waving her phone like a trophy. Officers. He's endangering us all. I crossed my arms. This is harassment. The older cop said carefully, Sir, we just need to inspect. I stepped aside. Go ahead. Nothing to hide. They walked the perimeter, found nothing wrong, and left. Karen stayed behind, face red with fury. You think you're untouchable? I smirked. No, Karen. Just grounded. She spat the words like poison. We'll see about that. And I knew her next move would cross every line. A week later, she called an emergency HOA meeting. I walked in to find 20 neighbors already seated, Karen at the head, like a queen awaiting her target. She stood holding a folder. Mr. Hayes' fence violates multiple community clauses. We vote for immediate removal. Whispers filled the room. I raised a hand. Before the vote, read this. I handed out printed HOA guidelines, highlighting the sections she ignored. Nowhere, I said, does it ban electric privacy fences. You just don't like mine. Karen laughed sharply. This isn't personal. I turned to the room. Then why did her husband trespass at 2 a.m.? Gasps erupted. Paul's face turned pale. Karen's hand trembled. That's false. I played the footage on a projector. Silence fell. Then murmurs. Susan whispered, That's criminal. Karen slammed the table. You manipulated this community. I stepped closer. No, Karen. You did. That night, I left the meeting with my dignity and a warning from Susan. She's planning something big, Lucas. Be ready. And she was right. 3 days later, a white city truck pulled into my driveway. A man in uniform stepped out, clipboard in hand. Code enforcement. Got a complaint. I sighed. Let me guess, Karen? He smirked. She's persistent. He inspected the fence, then nodded. Everything's compliant. Whoever's complaining doesn't know the law. That afternoon, Karen stormed toward my gate. You think you can hide behind money? I looked her straight in the eyes. No. Just law. Her voice cracked. You've ruined this community. I replied softly, I just improved it. That night, Amelia found an anonymous letter in our mailbox. Remove it or regret it. I installed motion sensors, reinforced locks, and told my son to keep watch. But fear turned into resolve. because by then it wasn't just about a fence, it was about freedom. And when she finally called the cops again, she didn't realize the trap she'd walked into. The next morning, sirens again. 3 police cars this time. Karen leading the charge, shouting, "He's endangering everyone." The fence shocked a dog. I opened the gate calmly, camera recording. "Proof." She pointed dramatically. "Ask Officer Bradley." He saw sparks. Bradley frowned. "Ma'am, I didn't see sparks. I saw lights." Her voice cracked. "It's still a violation." I stepped forward, voice steady. "This fence is UL certified, inspected, and legally permitted. You're abusing authority." The officers exchanged looks. Karen screamed, "Shut it down." Bradley sighed. "Ma'am, you filed 5 false complaints this month." Her eyes widened. "You're taking his side?" I turned to her quietly. "No one's on your side anymore." That was the moment she realized she'd lost control. She stormed off, muttering threats about lawsuits. But by then, my evidence had already been sent to the county board: recordings, complaints, and proof of harassment. The storm she started was about to bury her. 2 months later, we stood in court. Karen wore her pearls, but her confidence had vanished. Her lawyer spoke fast, but the truth was slower and sharper. My attorney presented everything: trespassing videos, false reports, power cuts, harassment letters. The judge's eyebrows rose higher with each exhibit. Karen tried to interrupt. "He's lying." The judge silenced her. "Enough, Mrs. Benson." When it was my turn, I spoke plainly. "I built a fence for peace. She turned it into war." Silence filled the courtroom. The verdict came swiftly: restraining order, $25,000 in damages, and removal from HOA presidency. Karen froze, tears forming but pride refusing to fall. As I walked out, she whispered, "You'll regret this." I looked back once. Already did. Now I'm done. Outside, Amelia hugged me tight. For the first time in years, the air felt light again. Justice had a sound that day. It was quiet, firm, and final. A month later, the neighborhood was silent. My fence stood tall, untouched, humming softly like a heartbeat guarding our home. Karen had moved away. Word was she sold her house at a loss. Sometimes, I still see her roses blooming across the fence line, wild and untended. Amelia asked one evening, "Do you ever miss how it used to be?" I smiled sadly. Peace has a price. But it's worth paying. Tyler graduated that year, leaving for college. He said, "Dad, you taught me never to let bullies win." I nodded. "Just make sure you fight smart." As I sat on the porch that night, stars reflecting on the electric fence, I realized the real power wasn't in voltage or steel. It was in standing firm when someone tried to control you. And in the quiet hum of that fence, I heard something else: victory.